Previously on Geek Ghost Gamertop.
But the characters on this leaked list seemed too good to pass up. Tifa, Vega, Gouken, and Haggar. Could this be the sickest DLC season in Street Fighter history? Or is it just too good to be true? Today, we're gonna break down the evidence and try to figure out if this is a fan's dream come true or just a total fake. The story goes that a user named rank_clan, who supposedly had the inside scoop on the Season 2 roster,
on the other side, and I will show up.
Hello, fam! Yes, I'm your boy Geek Ghost Gamertop on the microphone. We're on that rumor mill train again, and it's a very deja vu rumor mill train yet again. Honestly, we need a news bulletin roll on this one. Yes, this is about to get eerily familiar and wild. A huge rumor just dropped that could completely change the game for the rest of the year. We're talking about new claims pointing to a massive Summer Game Fest with huge announcements for both Street Fighter VI and the game we've all been waiting for, Injustice 3. But before you let the hype completely take over, we need to talk. Because when you actually start to dig into where this leak is coming from, the whole thing starts to feel incredibly shaky. Today, we're breaking it all down. We'll go over the explosive claims, try to track down the source of these wild rumors, and most importantly, look at the actual evidence, or lack thereof it, to figure out if this is the biggest news of the year, or just an elaborate fan-made wish list. So, what's the story that has the entire fighting game community buzzing? According to a rumor that blew up online around May 11th, Summer Game Fest is about to be the place for two of the biggest announcements you can imagine. First up, Street Fighter VI. The leak claims that the entire Year 4 character pass is going to be revealed, and the roster is just stacked. It supposedly includes the return of the iconic Spanish ninja, Vega. He'd be joined by the mayor of Metro City himself, Mike Haggar from Final Fight. Then, we'd get the master of the Ansatsu Ken and mentor to Ryu and Ken, Gouken. And for the grand finale, the guest character to end all guest characters, Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII. As if that wasn't enough, the same rumor claims that NetherRealm Studios will finally end years of silence by revealing a trailer for Injustice 3. The leak even gives a supposed release window of January 2027 and suggests it'll be the final game in the saga. Having a coordinated reveal this huge at Summer Game Fest, which kicks off its main showcase on June the 5th, would be nuts. Tifa in Street Fighter and the return of the Injustice universe on the same day? It sounds almost too good to be true, and that's because it probably is. This is where things start to get messy. The Street Fighter VI rumor is mostly being credited to a Reddit user named rank_clan. Yep, he's at it again. According to a bunch of forum discussions, this user supposedly has a track record and allegedly leaked the Year 2 lineup for Street Fighter VI, including Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui, before it was officially announced. This supposed past accuracy is what's giving the new rumor so much momentum. People keep sharing posts about the leaker's old predictions, building up this idea that the source is legit. But here's the problem. As of right now, finding the original verifiable posts from rank_clan is pretty much impossible. Most of the Reddit threads that people point to as the source have been deleted. We're just left with screenshots and second-hand accounts from other forum users who swear by a source that has basically vanished. No major gaming news outlets are reporting this as a credible leak. Instead, it's a bunch of YouTube videos and smaller blogs running with the story, all pointing back to the same deleted Reddit posts. This is the classic echo chamber. A rumor appears, gets deleted, but not before it's picked up and spread around. Every new video or post gives it a bit more legitimacy, even though they all lead back to a source nobody can check. Even on the leaking subreddits, people are skeptical, pointing out how easy it is to say a leaker was right about something in the past after it's already been announced, and asking why no one has a direct, dated link to the original predictions. Frankly, the evidence for a proven leaker is flimsy at best. It feels less like a solid lead and more like we're chasing a ghost. Okay, let's just forget about the questionable source for a second and just look at the claims. Starting with the biggest one, Tifa Lockhart in Street Fighter VI. The idea itself is incredible. Tifa is one of the most iconic characters in all of gaming, and her hand-to-hand fighting style would be a perfect fit. With the huge success of the Final Fantasy VII remake project, she is more popular than ever. A crossover between Capcom and Square Enix of this size would be a massive event for the genre. The rumor mill definitely seems to think it's possible. Some YouTubers and forum users are saying they've heard similar whispers from other sources, which just adds more fuel to the fire. But when we look at the hard facts, the dream starts to fade a little. For years, Katsuhiro Harada, the director of Tekken, has talked about how hard it is to license characters from Square Enix. He specifically mentioned how protective they are of their most popular characters, like Tifa. While Tekken 8 did manage to get Clive from Final Fantasy XVI, Tifa is on a whole other level of brand protection. The idea that Capcom would easily succeed where others have struggled, with no history of this kind of collaboration in a main Street Fighter game, raises a big question mark. So while the community is hyped, and arguments are breaking out all over, we have to be realistic. There are no other leaks from more established insiders to back this up. And the biggest piece of counter evidence, the known difficulty of licensing Square Enix characters is still a huge hurdle. But what about the other three characters, Vega, Haggar, and Gouken? Unlike Tifa, these characters are all part of the Capcom family, which right away makes them feel more possible. Vega is a classic, iconic world warrior, and a lot of people miss him. Haggar is a Final Fight legend and one of the most requested grapplers. And Gouken is a huge character in the lore who has only been playable once before, in Street Fighter IV. But that's also what makes this part of the leak feel suspicious. These aren't crazy, out of nowhere picks. They are, for the most part, really safe and popular fan requests. Anyone who follows the community could have probably come up with this exact list. It feels less like inside information and more like someone's perfect wish list, made specifically to get everyone excited. Remember, Capcom's official plan only goes to the end of Year 3, which wraps up with Ingrid's release in late spring 2026. We've heard absolutely nothing official about Year 4, predicting that a few of the most demanded legacy characters will show up eventually isn't really a leak, it's just a good guess. So while it would be amazing to see them, having them in this rumor doesn't really make it more believable. I know, it's a total roller coaster and a lot to keep track of, and things are moving fast as we get closer to Summer Game Fest. If you want to stay updated on what's real and what's just smoke, and get breakdowns of the actual announcements if and when they happen, make sure you hit the subscribe button on Geek Ghost Gamer Top and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss it. Alright, so what about NetherRealm Studios? Is Injustice 3 really about to be revealed? The hype for this game is off the charts. It's almost been a decade since Injustice 2, and fans are desperate to see how the story ends. Rumors have been flying for years, from supposed slips by voice actors to artist resumes listing the project. A reveal at Summer Game Fest would make a lot of sense, since NetherRealm has used the event for big announcements before. But the timing feels a little off. Ed Boon said in a recent interview that NetherRealm is actively pursuing another Mortal Kombat game. Specifically mentioning a new MK suggests the studio's main focus might not be on the DC universe right now. Of course, Boon is the king of misdirection, but it's a direct quote that's hard to just ignore. On top of that, support for Mortal Kombat 1 has only just recently started to wind down, and the development time for a AAA fighting game is long. Job listings from 2024 did confirm NetherRealm was working on a new AAA project with a story mode, which everyone hopes is Injustice 3. But there's been no solid proof that a reveal is coming this soon. This latest rumor of a June 5th trailer and a January 2027 release feels more like wishful thinking than a solid leak, especially since it comes from the same questionable source as the Street Fighter claim. Alright, we've been critical, we've been skeptical, so now let's put on our tinfoil hats just for a minute. Let's fire up the Hopium engine and just imagine a world where all of this is true. What would that even mean? A Street Fighter VI Year 4 with Vega, Haggar, Gouken, and Tifa would be, and I'm not exaggerating, one of the most legendary DLC seasons in fighting game history. Vega's return would make longtime fans happy. Haggar would bring a much needed playstyle, and Gouken would add so much lore and weight to the game. But Tifa? Tifa would change everything. It would signal a new era of collaboration for Capcom, opening the door for countless other dream crossovers. It would bring a huge wave of new players from the Final Fantasy fanbase and would be a massive power play against the other big fighting games. And an Injustice 3 reveal would be the triumphant return for the DC fighting universe. It would promise a conclusion to one of the best stories ever told in the genre and would instantly become one of the most anticipated games of 2027. If both of these things happened on the same day at Summer Game Fest, it wouldn't just be a win for Capcom and NetherRealm, it would be a historic day for the entire fighting game community. Okay, time to come back down to earth. As exciting as it is to imagine all this, the evidence for this gigantic 2-game leak is incredibly thin. The trail leads back to deleted posts and a leaker whose track record is difficult, if not impossible, to actually verify. The character lists feel more like a fan's dream lineup than a real inside scoop. We're just a few weeks away from Summer Game Fest 2026, which starts on June 5th. We're going to have our answers very, very soon. It's totally possible we could see a new character for Street Fighter VI, or even a teaser for whatever NetherRealm is working on next. But as for the specific game-changing leak, I'd probably manage your expectations. But I have to ask you, what do you think? Are you holding out hope for Tifa and Injustice 3? Or do you think this is the most obvious fake leak of the year? Let me know your verdict down in the comments below. So, fam, that is the Rumor Mill News Bulletin video on this video. en route to Summer Game Fest 2026. Boy fam, it's an increasingly eerie familiar we're in. So, thanks so much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some fighting games. Check y'all out on the next video. Away!